I feel like this episode could be the episode of destruction. What do you think, Holman?
Well, I mean, it depends. If you had a piece of your engine break off and then go through the cylinder and shoot out through your turbo, taking it with you, then yeah, I would say that could be accurate.
Well, we're going to hear a story from, a call that I made to a customer, and hopefully will be a listener here soon after this. But
Okay.
It didn't go too well for her and her husband with their 2017 Ram Cummins. It's may have cost them some serious money.
Well, that dovetails nicely into the show's guest. She's the owner of a diesel shop, and she had the opposite issue. She caught it before destruction hit.
Yeah, she caught her customers' soon to explode engine, right?
just in the nick of time. So,
yeah. Jaycie Cochran is coming up on this episode of FTM Diesel. You know what that stands for?
I can only imagine.
The man.
Looking forward to talking to her, and the embargo's finally lifted, and we can give you some details on the Ram RHO.
So no more
embargo.
Well, just on that particular vehicle, and then we can talk about what's not in my driveway now, making me so terribly sad.
But you spent some time. We won't do it in this episode, but I do have to get a recap of you driving the hard body off-road.
Yeah, it was great. I had it for a week and took it on a little adventure, and did a mileage run, did some off-roading with it, and you know what? I like it a lot.
So thumbs up, except for the part where Lightning didn't get a chance to get behind the wheel.
Did you speak in third person there? That was super odd. Lightning, you're in luck because your local Nissan dealer could put you behind the wheel.
Don't tell me I have to go buy one.
Of a brand new Nissan Frontier
You had
hard
one
body.
here for 2 weeks. I didn't get a chance to even... I mean, I sat in it for...
You weren't around, so what can I tell you?
I was around for 2 episodes.
Listen, the Truck Show podcast is presented by Nissan, and every once in a while, Nissan has the kindness to bestow upon us a cool new vehicle that's in their lineup, and so I got to spend some time with that. But if you want to see what they have, you want to experience it firsthand, Lightning, you can head on down to your local Nissan dealer where you can check out a Nissan Frontier and even the new hard body package for yourself.
Can't believe you did me dirty like that.
And, I'm sure they would let you take it around the block, which is more than what I would let you do.
Probably would let...
You know what else they have? It's this thing called the internet. You can build and price your own Nissan truck right there on your computer. So if you're looking for a midsize truck to add to your driveway, put Nissan at the top of your test drive list.
And recently released from Banks Power is the new Ram air intake for the 2020 to 2024 Ford F-250 and 350 6.7-liter diesels. If you're looking for more power, more fuel efficiency, and best of all, more miles between filter cleanings, look no further than the best engineered cold air intakes on the market. Head over to bankspower.com, type in your year, make, and model, and find a Ram air intake for your new Ford.
Hey, Lightning, you know what I love about AMSOIL?
Do you love their aerosols? Do you love their synthetic motor oils? Do you like their gear lubricants? What?
I'm a big fan of the breadth of their motor oils. They've got motor oils for gas engines, European spec, which, by the way, is a thing.
So I have a case of European spec.
Because that is what works in the TRX and the Hellcats, right?
No.
You bought the wrong one.
No, I didn't. Nope. What did I drive here today?
Oh, you had it for the Mercedes.
I got it for the Mercedes.
When you were looking for the TRX, you were trying to match the spec for your engine, right?
And I talked to Mark Nyholm,
right? And he told you
not to use the Euro spec.
Right. There's another one. Now they have a premium that matches the spec for the Hellcats and the 392s.
That's the one I have.
Yeah,
so that's 0W40 full synthetic signature series. That's what I have. So that's the start.
And that's the same stuff that goes in my 392.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's why I take a case of it. I buy a case and I bring it over to Eder at Glendale Dodge.
Have him
and
pour it in.
He pours it in.
Glug.
Because I don't know what Mopar's using.
All right. So they also have the right motor oil for your high mileage engine. If you have a hybrid, if you have I don't know, if you're going diesel racing, high zinc motor oil for old cars, diesel engine oil for your daily driver, natural gas, 2-stroke, 4-stroke, 2-stroke power equipment, 4-stroke power equipment.
Have you seen their destruction tests when they'll take like a Harley and run it to the point where
it just explodes?
No, they don't explode, but like they're molten lava hot.
Just super red.
And then they take them apart and they analyze all the engine components and look for wear. Super cool.
All right, well, AMSOIL has been a pioneer in synthetic lubricants for more than 50 years. They deliver wear protection, engine cleanliness, and fuel efficiency that conventional oils simply can't match. When it comes to lubrication, AMSOIL is the leader in synthetics. You can find out more at AMSOIL.com.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the truck show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline. The truck show, the truck show, the truck show. Oh, oh.
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
That's us.
All right, so this wouldn't be the first time that I've told you guys about the grid heater bolt failure issue.
You're really like on a crusade about that. You are waving the flag. You're all like on a horse on a hill. You're Paul Revere running through the town.
You know the thing is, though, Holman, but in all seriousness,
yeah.
So I'm like a marketing dude, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's a shill for Banks. He's just promoting. So here's how it happened. Have I told this story before?
Probably.
Well,
you told it to me.
I don't have to again, but like, this is something that I saw 2018, somewhere on there. It was a YouTuber, Marion something, out of like Tennessee. And on his YouTube channel is an old coot, and he talks about RAM and RAM only. That's all he cares about is RAM. I saw a video where he's talking about beware of the grid heater in the 2007 current Ram trucks because there's a bolt that's upside down and it could fall off into your intake manifold and kill your engine. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I had never heard anything more about it for years. And one day I called one of our customers at Banks, and he was up in Western Canada, and he says, hey, Jay, I want to pick up one of your monster Rams. Can I get a deal? Because my truck's on the lift and the engine's out. I was like, sure, yeah, of course. What? Not a problem. Like, by the way, what happened to your engine? He goes, I got that grid heater bolt problem. I stuck the bolt down into the cylinder. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. He changed the topic. I'm like, whoa, time out, Chris. You actually are suffering from the grid heater bolt issue? I thought this was like a wives' tale. It didn't happen. And he goes, oh, no, according to Brad, my mechanic at FTM Diesel up here in Kamloops, Canada, this happens all the time. It's just the mechanics don't talk to each other. Like, this is the whole thing. So then we shoot a video with Gail, and Brad does a piece of the video, and we post it. And it like does kind of whatever, lukewarm. And some of the guys they take the video and they repost it in the Ram groups on Facebook. And, of course, haters come in like, no, that's 1 in a million trucks. That doesn't happen. It's never going to happen to you. Don't even worry about it. It's just Banks marketing hype. And one guy chimes in. He says, here's a picture of my piston. This happened to me.
Yep.
And then it gets posted again in another group. And another guy's like, oh, this is my brother's truck. Look at his engine. This thing started in about June of 22, I want to say. We started getting this conversation going. And I have a folder on my computer of well over 100 failures. And this is just the ones that I know about.
So what you're saying is you're at the tip of the spear.
So then, Stephen, we're recording this on a Wednesday. So last week, Stephen said, hey, have you seen this post on Facebook? And it was this woman who had posted in a group that says, this is real. My husband and I are out $20,000 because of this. So I asked Stephen to reach out to her, and he got her phone number. And this is my call to her. Now, it's me on a speakerphone in my office, and there's background noise and some other stuff, but I recorded it because I was going to transcribe it for the Banks newsletter, but I thought, this is too interesting. I want you guys to hear kind of the pain in her voice.
Hello.
Hey, Candy, this is Jay from Banks Power out in Los Angeles. Sorry to call you so late on a Friday night. Oh my God, is my voice really that high and squeaky?
Yep.
Oh, this sucks.
Hey, you're okay.
Hey, I
like how you said this sucks in a lower voice.
It's when I get spazzy that my voice goes up like 80 octaves.
You don't need to tell me that.
Damn. I feel like I owe our audience an apology.
Every week.
Saw a message. It looked like it was between one of our guys, Steven, in the office, and Billy. I assume that Billy is connected to you somehow.
He's my brother-in-law.
So he had posted that someone in the family had succumbed to the grid heater bolt failure on a 2020 Ram. Does that sound right?
Yeah, okay, it was our truck, but it's not a 20. It's a 17.
17. Got it. Okay. Can you tell me the story? What happened?
So we use it to pull a race car trailer, our boys race, and we're coming home from a race back in first weekend in February. No codes on the dash, no nothing. And we're cruising through Atlanta on cruise control, and it kicks him out of cruise control all of a sudden and starts knocking like crazy. So, of course, we get off the interstate or whatever and call some friends, and they're like, sounds like an injector, you don't need to drive it home, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story. So we get it towed home to Birmingham, and we get a...
That was some kind of an injector. It injected a bolt right through the pistons.
You'd be surprised how many people just think it's a regular, some kind of a knock or something, that they don't realize that it's something in the cylinder.
That the diesel's not supposed to sound. That's not the knocking you're looking for.
See what you did there?
Yep.
Mechanic to look at it, and the grid heater, and it's everything that's on the internet, all the YouTube videos. I mean, it is the same story that I've Googled and looked at. Something in it, maybe something was arcing, overheating the grid heater. Does that sound right? And part of the bolt broke off and fell down into the engine. And we had to completely replace the engine. We replaced the short block. Then they had to machine part of something.
Yeah, so probably the head and the cylinder wall. And did they have to replace the piston as well?
I'm not sure if they had to replace the piston. Look, I know it was $20,000, and I mean, in 3 months, and every time we went to get it back, something else was wrong. Had to replace the air conditioning condenser. Got some metal somewhere in it. I don't even know if that's connected or if that's just because all the stuff had to come off. And now it needs a turbo. We got it back, and it has to have a turbo on it. So we're $20,000 into a 2017 truck.
Oh, my gosh.
So I reached out to Ram. I actually reached out to a local Ram dealer when it happened. Like, that happened on a Sunday. I called them. It was probably Monday night or Tuesday night before the mechanic got into it good and figured out what had happened. So I reached out. It was that same week, a couple of days later, to their customer. Well, the dealer referred me to their customer care line. So I called them, and they're like, yeah, it's not under warranty, no recall. So basically, you have to pay for it yourself, and then you can file for reimbursement. So I'm like, okay. So we go forward with getting everything fixed, and got my receipts when it was done a couple weeks ago. And I call them back, and then they just completely ghost me. So I emailed the CEO of Stellantis. He forwarded my email, and I've been talking back and forth, and basically they're not going to do anything because it's not in warranty. And I was like, well, duh, I wouldn't be calling you if it was in warranty. Yeah, they're just not going to do anything because they said it's got 160,000 miles on the truck. But hey, on our new engine, we got the Banks Power, whatever that thing is.
Oh, you got the Monster Ram.
We did.
Well, it was great. I wish it weren't after the fact, but I am happy to have it on there.
I mean, and that's what I told Ram. I was like, if you didn't want to do a full-on recall, this is the problem. There is no way that you don't. You could have at least sent a letter out, hey, this is happening. You might want to check it. And, I mean, we had no idea. We had never even heard of it. And we bought this truck new. It was a 17 model. We bought it in the 18. Haven't had any trouble out of it. We service it. My husband does the service. I don't trust, a lot of these little places that change oil. So we do all the maintenance on it, and didn't know that's something we should check. But I wish somebody had told us for sure. I've talked to Ram several times. The CEO forwarded it off to somebody. Of course, he dumped it off on somebody else. And that lady, she's like, well, if we are able to help you with anything, I can tell you it won't be the full amount and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes down to, well, we can't do anything because of the miles on it. And I said, you're telling me you only back your trucks to warranty? I said, do you know why people buy diesel trucks? Because they're supposed to last forever. We could have bought a gas burner and not had to pay $5 a gallon for diesel the last 3 or 4 years, And if we wanted one to only last 160,000 miles, I've tried finding an attorney. I want to sue them. But honestly, we've sunk so much money into getting it fixed. I don't have the money to hire one. And so and
they know that. That's the unfortunate part they know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got me. And so I reached out to an attorney just, that pay you like a little fee. You pay a little fee to just get advice. And so they've told me I can take them to small claims court. And I'm like, I want to make people need to know about this, I've commented on every Mopar, Ram, Stellantis. I've tried blowing them up, getting their attention, and it's not. But I did reach out to Cummins this week, and their CEO forwarded, they don't ever want to talk to you, but they forwarded it to somebody else, and she reached out, and she says she's trying, and she actually emailed me back today getting the VIN number, so I don't know, what she's coming up with. But I was like, the more people you tell, eventually, I feel like eventually there'll have to be a class action, or they'll have to recall it.
I think your next move is to the National Highway Traffic Safety Board.
I've done it. I put it on there 2 times. And I've told everybody, these attorneys are no better than Ram. Unless they're like ambulance chasers. Like, they want something that, and I understand this is not going to be an easy case, but people need to know about this. They need to recall it. Then my husband's like, I'm going to go trade it in. We got it back this week, and he was going to go get a Ford. And I'm like, we're so deep in it now, there's no point. It's got a new motor.
Do you have, or does your mechanic have, any photos of the damage?
Oh, yes. I got photos. I've got the parts.
Oh, my
I've got
gosh.
everything.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was ready to go to court, and I'm still ready to go to court, and I still may take them to small claims, but I got to go to Michigan to do it.
What I'd like you to do is send me some photos, high res if possible. I'm going to send you an email right now, and then just respond to it over the weekend or whenever you can with some photos.
Okay, sounds good.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
I know if I had to spend $20,000 on an engine, I would be screwed.
At that point, do you hate the truck so much that you just
No, you don't hate the truck.
You
but
jettison it?
No,
I don't
think it's a hate the truck thing. I think it just
maybe you feel dirty now. You're not dirty. I guess you feel burned.
maybe you love the truck. You can't quit it, so you put the money into it.
You think
I don't
so?
know. Yeah.
So last week, Holman, FTM Diesel, which I had not heard of, tagged Banks because they had a grid heater failure. I saw this post from FTM Diesel, and I thought, FTM, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so I got their number, and I called. I said, I need to get the story. So I call up, and this woman answers, and I said, hey, what's happening? It's Jay from Banks Power. I'm interested in talking to you guys about this grid heater bolt failure. She's like, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I pulled this. And I realized as I'm talking to this woman that she's the tech. I'm like, this is awesome. Because let's be honest, there aren't that many female diesel techs. And she's so rad. So you're like, so normally I'd slide into your DMs, but since I have you on the phone, you want to come on my podcast? No, I'm big time. I'm big time. What are you talking about?
No, that's not how that
Are you
happened?
insinuating that I was hitting on her?
No.
Then what are you saying?
Wow, that would be rude. How dare you to assume that that's what I would say about you? I clearly you know that she is smart and knows diesels more than you.
She does.
All right, let's have her on the phone.
All right.
Hello.
Jaycie, it's Lightning and Holman, Truck Show Podcast. How you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
We're awesome.
We're awesome. I was just talking to my man Lightning here, and he's trying to explain in some really circuitous way about how he found you, talked to you, and then somehow got you convinced that you should come on a podcast with us two idiots. And when he said you were a female diesel tech, I went, wow, she's way smarter than us. Why would she ever come on this show?
I just used my magical good looks.
Yeah, sure.
This is true. He's a very convincing guy.
Yes, exactly. We are excited to catch up with you, Jaycie, but we have an intro. Everyone gets one. Don't move. Hang tight.
What does it take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to be an entrepreneur? Quit your job and get a loan, and don't let anyone tell you you can't. Go into debt and don't look back. Don't worry, there will always be another crappy job. This is what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Now, I think that jingle does fit. This is what it takes to be an entrepreneur because Jaycie is the owner and chief technician at FTM Diesel.
But we were arguing whether she should get the "What's in the Shop" jingle because she's a shop owner. We have that awesome jingle that could fit her situation.
Yeah, but I feel like she's an entrepreneur, and that's harder.
Right, but does she like, it really comes down to, does she like that goofy jingle, or is she more into like barbershop quartet?
Are you asking?
Ooh, barbershop quartet sounds kind of fun.
Oh, do it!
Oh, jeez.
What's in the shop? What's in the shop? Tell us what's in your shop. A segment where handsome guys talk about your build. A crazy consumption that'll keep the whole thrill. What did you make? Why is it cool? We all want to know. And now it's time for some shop talk.
oh man, this is the way we're going to bring her on with these jingles?
Yeah, I just want her to know what she's getting herself into.
She does now.
Yeah.
So, Jaycie, where the hell is Point Arena, California? Because it's not on a map. It's got to be like two people.
So we're in California, and we thought we knew every place, but apparently we don't.
You guys just have to come way further north. So it's like 3 hours up Highway 1 from San Francisco. It is a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, stuck on the ocean.
I mean, that sounds awesome, actually.
So I did Google Earth it,
Yeah.
and it's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
got like the lighthouse out on the peninsula.
How far
sticking
is
out
she
of-
from our friend Scott?
Like an hour.
Oh, maybe that's what we need to do when we go visit Birdsall. We'll come visit Jaycie too. We'll make a truck show podcast guest loop.
You think so?
Yeah,
Lou?
and we
Yeah?
just hit everybody in that general area.
Jaycie, do you know Scott Birdsall? He owns
Chuckles.
Chuckles Garage, Old Smoky F1.
So I don't know him personally, but you can't be that kind of guy and not have local people know of him. So yeah, I definitely know Scott.
Okay, good.
He's one
Yeah.
of our good friends. We keep threatening to go up and visit him, but I feel like we need multiple reasons to go up there because it's 8,000 miles away.
It's not really that far. It's
Yeah.
it's in our states. Although people don't realize how large California
is really long.
Yeah, massive. So, Jaycie,
Yeah. Well, if you guys come all the way to Point Arena, like you're looking at like 2 hours drive up Highway 1. So maybe some Dramamine and get somebody else to drive you.
people probably don't know that Highway 1 is basically
Amazing.
like PCH Pacific Coast Highway, and it's along the coast. And as you go more northern,
It's like a
it becomes,
paved shelf road.
Yeah, it's a cliff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down in Southern California, you're driving along the
beach.
beach. But as you go up, for whatever reason, it's rocky coast.
So how did you get started in being the number one diesel shop in Northern California?
Ooh, I like that. Thank you. Flattery
welcome.
gets you everywhere. So
I'm not as dumb
my
as I
first
look.
Job is, my first job when I was a kid was working for some family friends that own a gravel company here in town. I went over to the shop one day to like deliver a message or something, and the mechanic asked for another set of hands. I never went back to the office. I just absolutely loved it.
That's awesome.
What was it about it? Like what you loved? Was it the tactile, physically, like wrenches, bolts, or was it the challenge of assembling something? Or
It was at that point in my life, I was like 13. So it was like just being in the shop. Everybody cussed. Everybody told jokes. The work was super fun.
That sounds like the podcast
so it was just, yeah, it was just a cool environment.
Now, was it back? I'm guessing it was back in time where you could tell jokes and not get in trouble, and there weren't really like HR departments in the shop like there are today.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a different time.
so then the next step is what? You're 13. Then you follow this path and you end up at Wyotech, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I went right after graduation. I headed out there and did the diesel and the business management programs.
So did you know at that point that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? You wanted to have your own shop? Or because business management is not typically directly associated with being a technician.
It is not. So at the time, I had no desire whatsoever to ever be self-employed. I wanted to work at Peterbilt. And then I knew if I did a business class, maybe like when I got old, I could work my way up into management.
Peterbilt, why? You were, if we go back a few steps, I think, or was it coming out of Wyotech, you went into like working on buses and stuff like that, but where does Peterbilt fall into the mix?
From my first job at Bedrock, those guys love Peterbilt. Like they've had quite a few trucks invited back to the shop for the big show that they have every year at the Peterbilt plant in Texas. So a deep love of Peterbilt was instilled.
Oh, so at that quarry, or what was it? They were moving rocks and sand and dirt set up there.
It's a trucking company. So they had a quarry at the time, and then they trucked rocks, cement plant. It's like the local trucking company. I mean, pretty much if you need it moved or hauled or rocked, they've got you.
Okay, and that's where you fall in love with Peterbilt and you decide, I want to work on these trucks. You go to Wyotech, you come out, and you end up doing what?
So I worked for a couple years for a log truck driver, a local log hauler here. And then I got the job at the school district, and I worked on school buses for the bulk of my career.
So what was the type of things that you're doing in the fleet? Like what were the problems of the big trucks and the school buses? And how does that differ from today with like consumer grade trucks and Duramaxes and Power Strokes and things like that?
Oh, it's so different. So, I mean, having your own fleet, like, that is always yours. I was the only mechanic. If I did something half-assed, it always came back to me, and it was always my problem. I never once had to clean a mouse nest out of an airbox, which in the public sector is happening all the time. Like, nobody prepared me for that at all. But, doing all the preventative maintenance in fleet life is so different from just stuff that rolls in, and I have no clue what the day is going to bring, when a truck comes in.
So you're saying when you're doing buses, you have a maintenance schedule. So every third Thursday, you're going to work on this many Cummins powered whatever. And then Mondays, you do this. It's scheduled for the most part, right? I'm sure that there's some zigs and zags in there, but wildly different than, like you said, cleaning, mouse droppings and stuff and out of intake systems.
Yeah, I went from like something insanely structured to much less structured, I mean, like in fleet life, like I knew like if a problem was coming pipeline, I was doing preventative inspections often enough that I'd catch it before it became a big problem. Where like everything that rolls in the public sector is a problem.
Now, how large is this fleet that you're working on at this time of buses and such?
I think we had 8 buses. So it's a pretty small school district. I mean, obviously, you guys Google Earth Point Arena. So yeah, we had 8 buses, full length, 40 footers.
The town is actually so small that you can see the school buses on Google Earth driving down the street.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So if you swipe a little bit south, you'll find my shop on the south end of town on Highway 1.
So how long have you owned your shop? When did you jump out of fleet life and decide I'm going to go do this on my own and I'm ready to take on the whole kit and caboodle? And did your I guess you're married right now, right? Did your husband was Did
he
you
into
just say
it?
right now?
Well, I don't know if she was married then.
Right.
So that's where I'm going with it.
Got it.
She's married now, as far as I know. I only know this because I kind of pre-interviewed her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my husband told me." So I kind of know some of the story.
Do you think something changed in the last week?
No, I'm saying, well, maybe after I don't know. She's like, "I'm going to be on the Truck Show podcast." He's like, "I'm out. Those guys are assholes."
Yeah, smart move on his part, right?
All right. So, in 2016, I was just super fed up with just working for the government. The government, they suck in all aspects. And so I was kind of just moping around and bitching about going to work every day and not really enjoying life. And my husband, Kenton, was like, screw it. I'll build you a shop. Open your own. You'll have plenty of work. So I worked in a tiny little shed on my property for a couple years while we built the shop. And then in 2018, I got to move into the big building.
Ooh.
And it was nice.
So then you've got so you went out and bought a 2-post, like a big bend pack or something bigger, right? A big Mohawk lift or something?
Yeah, I got a nice bend pack in here, an 18,000 pounder. I only have the one lift. And then so I have one lift bay and one you must grovel on your knees on the concrete bay.
So does that have 1.5x the hourly labor rate?
Yeah, that's what I make my shop helper. My employee has to work on that bay.
Sorry, Bob. The good lift's taken, so this one's going to cost you some more money, and it's going to take an extra week.
Does he have he or she has the plumber knee pads and stuff because they're always on the ground?
Oh, yeah. I gift him a set that goes inside his Carhartts, like the little slip-in knee pads. He loves them.
There you go. So then what do you cut your teeth on when you open up this shop? Like where, because I know you kind of became the Ford person.
What I was going to ask is, did you have competition around there, or did you realize wow, the next diesel shop's 2 towns over, I could really kind of own this part of the state?
I happen to know she's wanted on arson. She burnt 2 other guys down.
No, really? Yeah. Tough crowd.
It's a cutthroat business, boys. I
heard they were sure it was her because she started it with diesel fuel.
Oh, thank you. Wait, how does that even work?
No, she actually just backed up and let a regen process happen on the side of their building, just torched the whole thing.
Parked right over the dry grass.
Yeah. Wasn't me, it was regen.
Yeah, totally. It was a forced regen for the planet, guys. For the planet. No, it was kind of one of those things. Like, there's a couple of auto mechanics in town, and so it was a free market to get into the diesel biz. One of my first couple jobs were putting on a couple lift kits and a couple leveling kits for some friends, and then my first real job from a real customer, someone I had never met before, was a oil cooler on a 6.0. And that was it. That kind of got me in the door. So now I'm just swamped with stupid Power Strokes all the time.
So that became your thing right away? You're like, oh, Jaycie's the Power Stroke girl.
Yeah, because she took off that bad oil cooler and she hung it on her wall like her first dollar bill that she ever made. And then everybody saw that. It was like a beacon, and it was like a light for Ford moths.
Ford moths?
Yeah, Ford moths.
And they're mobby. Ford people are a different breed. Like, and just fair warning, anybody listening, don't get pinched. I own a Power Stroke myself, so I can, we're a little different.
All right, so which Power Stroke is your favorite?
Favorite to work on?
Well, I was just gonna say which one's your favorite, and then which one's your favorite to work on?
Well, can I guess? She's got to say, like, I'm going to say her favorite is the 7.3, but she ends up working on the 6.0 more. But she wants a 6.7.
I'm gonna say that she loves working on the 6.0 because they bring very high labor and parts lists. But she loves a 7.3 Di.
Ooh, you guys are halfway there, both of you. So 6.0s are my favorite to work on. I'm pretty comfortable with them. If I were to buy a new Power Stroke today, it would be like a 19 or 20 6.7. I'm not a fan of the 7.3s. They're dinosaurs. They're gutless.
Okay, true. Now wait, why wouldn't you want the brand new 23 with the high output, 1,200 pound-feet of torque right off the showroom floor?
So I'm a little bit nervous of brand new things. I like stuff that's been around just a hair.
Plus, she's right on that cliff on the side of the ocean. She's afraid if she pulls out of her driveway, Highway 1 will be pushed into the ocean if she gives it too much throttle.
I did own a 6.4, and man, when that thing ran right, it ran right. But everything always didn't go right. It went very wrong. And it's now got a 12-valve Cummins sitting in that chassis.
Whoa, Cummins swap action. Nice. I like it.
So that's the other little forte that I'm trying to get into is doing some Cummins swaps. I have a 6.0, a 2006 in here that I've been working on for a couple years. That's also got a 12-valve in it, compound turbos, big injectors. It's going to be fast.
Is there, dare I ask, is there any like legal issues with that? Or is that little tiny town, do you not have, because there are some up like Yosemite, where Gail has a house, you don't have to have things smogged. So technically you're not supposed to do that, but they'll never catch you because you don't have to have a smog check. How is it in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, maybe we don't ask that question.
She's going to plead the fifth.
I'm going to plead the fifth, guys.
Okay. All right.
What you meant was your subsidiary satellite shop that's in Utah is where that work happens, and all is right with the world. So moving right along.
Okay.
Yes. I'm calling from an undisclosed location in Mexico.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, so then, what did you get known for with these 6.0s? Like, were you
fixing them?
Well, no, bulletproofing them, or just like maintaining them?
Bulletproofing was really where it kind of slid to. I mean, honestly, like you fart too hard in a 6.0 and the head gasket's gone. So, lifting the cab became a pretty normal occurrence. So, yeah, I mean, I like to think I'm very clean and I'm very meticulous. So my results are always very good with them.
What mods do you hate making to these things, and which ones do you enjoy?
So I don't really hate doing much of anything. I mean, as far as like modern diesels, I hate touching the DEF system. That is a hands down. I absolutely despise doing anything with DEF. So I'm cool on the 6.0s. And the thing I love to do is suspension work. I mean, engine work is fun and it's the glory stuff, but I like suspension stuff. I like building axles. I like swapping in axles. I like putting on lift kits.
I did not expect that. Okay, because you think of like a diesel shop, right? They do everything, but they're known for the engines, coolant systems, all that, swapping turbos and all those things. And you're doing suspension. Are you actually out there welding up gussets and bracketry and things like that?
Fabbing brackets and...
Yeah, so I do some fabrication. I've done several solid axle swaps on Chevys. I do most of my customers want just like, I want to buy a lift kit, install these coil springs, install these coilovers. So, I mean, that stuff's pretty cut and dry, but fabbing is really fun. It's one of the more enjoyable things.
Is there anything that a customer comes and says, oh, I was on the interwebs and I need to do this to my truck? And you're like, yeah, no,
don't do that thing. You should do this other thing. Like, is there something that is like the red flag customer comes walking in your door and that's the dude that you know is you're going to be married to for the next 10 years?
He says, JC, I want to buy a rough country suspension system. And you're like, no!
Oh God, my huge red flag is when somebody comes in with like a set of rough country shocks and they're like, they're as good as, they're as good as Kings. Kings are just overpriced. I don't think we're gonna get along.
Yeah, that's a tough one to redirect on somebody.
It is. That and the people that roll in and tell me exactly how to do the job that they're not capable of doing themselves.
Right. Otherwise, why would they come to you?
Exactly.
So then going back to like DEF systems, stuff that you despise, how do you handle a situation where a guy comes in with a new Ford, Chevy Ram, whatever, and he's got these issues?
I suck it up and I soldier on and I just do it. And I try not to complain to my customer about it. Like, it's part of it. It's the world we live in today. It's one of those modern inconveniences that unfortunately we just have to deal with. So no point in like making the whole day sour over a 20-minute dirty job and washing all your tools when you're done.
So that's the biggest issue, is the fact that it crystallizes and gets everything gross.
Oh,
right?
So bad.
Everything. Yeah, and then it burns through your gloves, then your hands
gets in your
weird.
eyes, and if your nose itches, you're rubbing, crystals of urea in your face, and
I'm going to go see Crystals of Urea later tonight. They're playing the Palladium.
It is a great band name, isn't it?
Yes,
Crystals
it is. Write that down.
What was the other one I came up with? Money for Meth? Was that
Meth Money?
Meth Money. Yeah.
Meth Money. Yes. Well, they're opening for
Crystals of Urea.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it.
That sounds like a bitchin' concert. I'm in.
Well, they're playing Coachella after tonight's
after
gig.
Rehab. The problem is that they're very unpredictable of when they go on stage.
How long has this? You moved into the shop when? Did you finally erect it and get into the official shop?
18.
In 2018. Okay. So since then, are you proud of what you've accomplished? Is it more than you thought you? Did you bite off more than you could chew?
So I'm insanely proud of what I've accomplished. I definitely bit off a little more than I thought I could chew, but I'm chewing it and I'm choking it down.
One
and
elephant,
just kind of adapting as I go.
One bite at a time, right? That's how you eat the entire elephant.
Yep,
that's what I'm learning.
Exactly.
So then, JC, looking at the big three right now, GM, Ford, Ram. I know you're the Ford girl, but like, is that the truck you would buy if you won the lottery? Like, okay, here's $200,000. You have to buy a truck with the money. Are you buying that? Because now with the money, it doesn't matter if the brand new truck breaks. So let's assume you're going to go buy a 24. What is it and why?
So honestly, I would probably go buy a 24 Power Stroke just because they're the only trucks, like a 2020, 2019 and up Power Strokes are the only trucks I haven't had to do a major repair on yet. And I have seen 2020 Duramaxes with some stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. Dodges are a friggin' electrical nightmare, so I wouldn't buy one with somebody else's money. So it would be a Ford. I mean, in a perfect world, I would buy all three and merge them together into the perfect truck.
Well, you could. She's got
the skills. Yeah, you've
she's trying. Now wait,
two-thirds of the way there.
I gotta know. You pricked my interest with this with the Duramax. You've had some bad experiences. Why?
Lightning's paychecks are written off the Duramax, so he wants to know what
they're not. I mean, well, we make parts for all of them, but the Duramax is a little closer to my heart, so it pains me to hear you say that. But I am curious.
Okay, so just full disclosure, I do own two Duramaxes. I have a 17, and my husband's work truck is a 21. The 21 we bought brand new when we bought it out of state. So I had to smog it. The stupid thing would not pass smog. It was brand new. Brand spanking new.
We have talked about that.
Yeah, we have talked about that.
Yeah. It was just really disappointing. The head units in both have died. So new stereos, not that that's like a huge complaint, but for somebody else, it might be. The front ends are still a little wonky. GM's still got to work out some kinks with that IFS, even though they've been doing it since 1988. They have not mastered it yet. So I'm constantly nervous about the 10-speed in the 21. I've read a ton of horror stories. His has a little torque converter shutter that makes me incredibly nervous. So,
I'm
kinda
never
freaks me
giving
out
you a
little.
ride in any of my vehicles because I just feel like you
She's
just.
going to point out everything.
Yeah, she
that's
would be like the unfun or the fun sponge road trip companion. She's
fun
like,
sponge.
you'd be driving down, and you're like, I love my truck, and she's like, there's some torque converter shut. You feel that? Hey, what's that big? How's your U joint? When's the last time you checked your U joint? The splines on your drive shaft, I feel like they need to be
You're like,
greased.
shut up and drink your chocolate shake that I just bought you at Burger King. Stop it.
She would be the road trip companion that would bring a giant bag with her, and you'd be like, it's a 1-day trip. She's like, these are my tools.
Well, have you been on vacation with me?
I'm sensing it through the ether
airwaves?
of the universe. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. I pack more tools than underwear on vacation.
So then, Jaycie, you're on Instagram. That's where I found you. You're on Facebook. I would all over the place. And so, as a business owner, and just it looks like personally, right? You read all this stuff just like a consumer does. You brought up the 10-speed, right? If you go on any of these groups, you go on Duramax L5Ps only, or you go on Tuned L5P Brotherhood, or whatever it is, right? You're going to read all horror stories, but what you don't see, and you know this better than anyone, what you're not seeing is the good stories. The 95% of the people who just drive their truck daily and don't have a bitch about it, and so they don't post about it. They're like, hey, look, I got new seat covers today. Like, people just don't normally do that. It's kind of like, I look at it like Yelp. Most people don't go on Yelp and say, I had the greatest burger today. It was cooked just great, and they used, the
Actually, they do.
right bacon on top.
Have
of
you
the
ever
whole
been
thing.
on Yelp? That's how you get like 5
No,
stars.
listen, I know that exists.
You realize
but
on
it's-
this podcast that we constantly ask people for 5-star reviews, and our reviews are only 5 stars for the most part.
I hear you, but for whatever reason, I would think that I get the feeling, Jaycie, back me up on this, that most people go in these groups. Yes, there's a lot of questions. How do I fix this? What do you think of this? What window tint should I use? Hey, what oil should I use? What
That's
lift
a big
should
one
I
on those
use?
groups is what window tint I should use.
That's a
It's
stupid
massive,
one. I don't know why I
massive.
even said that. I
what
rescind
tire
that.
size?
Yeah,
It's always
definitely.
what
What
tire
tire
gears?
size could I fit without lift?
Yeah. Oh my God.
What fuel additive should I use? Like, it's all the same stuff over and over again. People don't know how to use the search function in any of the Facebook groups. My point, though, is like, even you're like, do you really think there's a 10-speed issue on these trucks? Or is it maybe just that everyone is fearful of them breaking and it hasn't happened yet? But like, I feel like if they're really getting smoked, there would be Maxim transmissions or
I
the
feel,
other
I feel like she
trans companies would be-
triggered you is what I feel.
Maybe.
I feel like you're out of your safe space.
Well, no, fair enough. And that is the double-edged sword of the internet, is that everybody likes to complain, very few like to praise. And that is just human nature, I guess. But I mean, yes, I have garnered this information, and I did have the fear in the back of my head of the 10-speed from reading forums and pages and whatnot. There is exactly one other 2021 Duramax 10-speed truck in this area, and his transmission failed at 15,000 miles. So we're running a 50-50 ratio here. So that also aided in my fear of the transmission.
That's funny. When I talk about the fear, it's something completely different.
Okay, so let's shift gears before we hear about Holman's fear.
Did you really just say let's shift gears
Yes,
after
I did.
transmission?
See what I did there?
Oh. Lightning just diving into puns on this interview.
That's very punny. I want to hear about your hatred of Ram. So you had that's how you and I first met on the phone, is that I called you because you had a grid heater bolt failure issue, and you're like, wow, apparently this is not a myth, right? This is not overhyped.
All right, so
because I found one.
Hold that thought.
Yep.
If you go to FTM Diesel at FTM Diesel on Instagram, her latest post right now is a grid heater bolt in her hand, and she says, own a 6.7 Cummins that still has the factory grid heater. This could happen to you. This customer got really lucky, and the nut didn't finish breaking off while it was running. It did break during the intake plate removal, and we had to fish it out of the head. This started with a grid heater code. We immediately checked the power wire, and it was loose. the truck did not start again, that's an immediate do not run condition. What was imminent was the braking while it was running and getting stuck in the intake valve, aka catastrophic engine damage. So we set him up with a Banks Power Monster Ram that completely solves the issue, and this way it can never happen again. And that's because the grid heater design is a plate and is completely different on the Monster Ram versus what's on the factory, and that's how that problem's solved. But what's interesting is you were one of those techs who saw the interwebs and you had heard about this and thought maybe our man Lightning here and Banks was a little bit hysterical about these grid heater failures, and you're thinking, well, I'm sure some have it, blah, blah, blah. But then you saw it firsthand and went, oh, crap.
Exactly. I was a true believer. So, I mean, I healed. I listened to Banks's warnings, right? So every time I got a 6-7 in for an oil change or a service, I was jiggling those wires, right? And this is the first one I've seen. So it put some fear into me because I'd also heard like, oh, it's a cold weather thing. Definitely not true. It is not cold here. So, I mean, it is a very prevalent issue if I'm seeing one. I'm not seeing thousands of Rams every year. Like, it's not happening. My turnover is not that high. The area is not that big.
And what year was that Ram and how many miles do you recall? Just roughly?
It was a 2014 with 118,000.
Which isn't that many miles for Cummins.
No, it's not.
At all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, and it's just the local guy's work truck. He has like a landscaping handyman business. So, I mean, it's not...
So he couldn't afford a $20,000 engine rebuild once that thing dropped into the intake.
No, it would have been absolutely devastating for this poor guy.
It fished it out with a magnet.
No.
If it fell into the cylinder.
What I'm saying is while it was running versus her
the intake valve.
If that would have happened to him while running, that could have been his business for the year, right? Like that could have been it, right? So I'm curious.
Yeah, unfortunately, he would have had to fold.
What's the lowest mileage that you've heard of at Banks for grid heater bolt failures?
34,000.
On what year?
I think it was in 18. The guy only used it to pull his boat. He was on the East Coast. I think he was in Florida.
So it's almost like an age thing versus a mileage thing.
I think it is.
Have you guys figured out what causes it? Is it electrolysis?
No.
Is it...
Like, literally, we haven't figured it out. And you can fix the solenoid. So there's multiple things happening here. The solenoid, in many cases, will get stuck on. And it keeps the grid heater heated. Right? It keeps it on, and it just gets red hot and stays that way. Whatever that screw, the stud and the nut are made out of, that metal, it deforms and falls off like a stalactite. It gets hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and it just deforms and elongates.
Well, you can see the photo of the bolt that fell off in her hand is very similar to the photos that you've shown on some of the Bank stuff, where the shape of the nut and the stud are the same.
What I think is
happening... Like the failure is the same on these.
It's the same on all of them. And I think what's happening is between the threads, it's elongating, and then it starts arcing. And the moment it starts arcing, it's like welding. It gets ultra hot, and then that's when it peels off. Yes, I think 34,000 is about the lowest I've seen for a hardly used truck. We've seen a couple over 200,000, but it seems like the sweet spot's between 110 and 180. It's a thing, and everyone keeps bitching, saying the same thing about, well, isn't there a class action lawsuit or a recall or this? And it's just mum's the word, and I don't know who's...
Manufacturers never want to admit fault ever.
Well, and this is a weird one too, because this is Cummins makes the engine, and Stellantis sells the truck. So, like, who's pointing fingers at who, right?
Well, it's a supplier issue.
Yeah,
it's a supplier issue. They would be culpable if something happened with it, but if there's enough complaints with like NHTSA of engine failure because of this, and they open an investigation, I mean, this is the problem is this is so wide ranging because that design has been out for what, a decade?
Since 2007. I didn't finish my story here. You've got the solenoid that can latch on, and that's the P2609 code that you get. So the solenoid's busted, and it stays on for too long, and it keeps that heater on and hot. But then we have guys who have replaced that solenoid, and yet the heater still fails. So if the solenoid is not latching and electrifying the coil heater, how is that still failing? I don't know. We haven't solved it. It's weird because of all the failures we've seen, we haven't pinpointed it.
Super interesting.
That's a weird deal. I feel bad for people
because they have unless they're in the know or reading forums or listening to a show like that, they have no idea. It's just a quietly ticking time bomb that will someday be bad.
Well, when we first discovered it, the guy up in Canada, Brad at Protect Diesel in Western Canada, Kamloops, he's like, hey, it was the first one that I had found. And he goes, oh, I think this has been going on, in his nice Canadian accent, I think this has been going on for years, just no one's documenting it. And diesel mechanics don't really talk to each other, so people just replace the parts, fix the engine, and go on about their business. And he had theorized that it had happened to hundreds and hundreds of trucks, if not more, and it was just a thing, but it was quiet. And it looks like it's not quiet anymore. People are now sharing it, and that's so here it is.
So I'm digging through, stalking FTM Diesel's Instagram. Tell me about the Dakota on 60s that the wheel is about to fly off that's only being held on by a caliper. That looked like a fun time.
Oh, that was a good one. So the 60 up front was the least of that thing's worries, right? Like that thing was just totally hashed. I you not, the transmission was held in with 4 ratchet straps.
Wow,
there was no cross member.
That's awesome.
There was 4 ratchet straps.
Now, were they at least like good ones, like Max or something, or was it the Home Depot Chinese ones?
Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight.
The orange ones.
Yeah, I think they were like mismatched. They were like, a different buckle to a different clasp. Like they were definitely some like Ace Hardware. I dug these out of the back of my truck kind of stuff. Like that was a very interesting day.
This thing is rad because it's a solid axle swap Dakota, which you never see. But the caption on the post is, 1-ton Dakota didn't have any wheel bearings left on the passenger side. The only thing holding that hub on was the caliper. What? I mean, please tell me that thing got towed to your shop and he didn't like try driving it in. Like, what was the deal with that?
Oh no! This guy drove it in. He's a local guy. He's pretty rough on rigs, so that was his wheeler / daily driver. And he drove it in here, and he's like, I don't know. I think there's something wrong with the front. So, yeah.
The front. Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it left here with ratchet straps still holding on the transmission because he could only afford to have me just make it where he didn't crash.
Well, like I said, you only paid for the other stuff. That's another day.
Now, so you live in a beautiful little town, but that doesn't stop people from being really redneck, right?
This is so true. It's a very different part of California.
People think it's all super libtard, and SoCal and all that stuff.
No, NorCal.
NorCal too. But as soon as you get out of the metros, it's the heartland. I'm telling you.
Oh no, it's awesome. Central California, Northern California, like up by Eureka and
tomorrow I'm going 2 hours north to see a tractor pull and a rodeo. Just 2 hours north. Like by my kid's school.
Damn.
It's just that this stuff happens everywhere. So you people that are thinking like painting all of California with this broad brush, it ain't
we're
that
diverse
way.
out here.
What's that?
So we're diverse out here.
Yeah, a little bit. So what's the future of FTM Diesel? And then I want to know that, and I want some pointers for young entrepreneurs.
All right, the future is to I just kind of want to maintain. I'm at a spot where I am happy with my workflow. I have a person who works with me now, so there's 2 of us in working every day. We can really get a lot done. I would like ideally to like merge into like doing only custom stuff like Cummins swaps and things of that nature. But realistically, that's not going to pay the bills forever. So, I mean, I'm happy with where I'm at. So I'd like my future to just kind of maintain, maybe peak a little, but just stay about where it's at. And tips for young entrepreneurs. Don't dive in too hard. Shoot big, but know your limitations right out of the gate. Like if you try to do too much too fast, it can bite you. But don't be lazy either.
Holman is writing down your notes furiously here. I can hear you.
I'm writing this down. I feel like I failed on all of those things.
No, you're okay. You're okay. I mean, you're still you're not drowning.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
we've got a built-in flotation device, so you're fine here.
Yeah.
But like, what is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur and being, forgive me for asking this, but it's like for being a female mechanic entrepreneur? Like, what are the hurdles that you faced, or has it all been cool because the guys have been accepting?
I am incredibly fortunate that I have always been accepted and treated as an equal. And I know that that is not the case for pretty much every other female tech out there. Like, I know it's not, and I wish that that wasn't the case, but there is. I've been super lucky. I honestly think that the diesel industry is just a little bit more open-minded to people. Like, if you can show up and you can do your job, it doesn't matter who or what you are. And I think that's been kind of my little saving grace in this. It hasn't been the struggle that a lot of people think that it is. Now, I'm not belittling anyone else's struggles because I'm not stupid. I know that they exist for women in the industry. Like, that's a thing. But I've been incredibly lucky.
Do you feel, Jaycie, that it's different in like the high performance industry? Like if you were building Go Fast Mustangs, Corvettes in Texas or something, or because you pointed out specifically that you think the diesel thing is more accepting. Do you think it's not that way in other parts of automotive enthusiasm?
I think that it is, and I'm only saying that because I'm a member of like a couple of female mechanic groups on Facebook, and it seems that like the diesel ladies are a little bit more like, oh, you know, everybody's got one or two horror stories, but it's not just this constant barrage of just bullshit that the other gals in like the auto industry have to deal with. And again, you know, everybody complains, nobody praises. So, I mean, take that what you will, but I mean, and maybe location, California is definitely more open-minded in general. So, I mean, you know, I've never had to work in, you know, Illinois or Texas or Arkansas or whatever, where maybe the attitudes are different.
Well, plus with your reputation for arson, nobody wants to mess with you.
Ooh, good callback.
Full circle. You like that? Yeah, thank you. One thing I did want to ask, because I was rolling through your feed here, and one topic that continually comes up is the correct filters for your diesel. And I figure this is probably
oil, fuel.
She talks. I think there's some fuel filters and oil filters in here, but she talks about using the OE ones and Motorcraft and why she doesn't. She has examples of cheap ones that fell apart because they were put on too tight and then fell apart when she went to take them off and things like that. What do you want?
You're going to go down a rabbit hole here.
Well, what do you want as a mechanic, as a technician who sees a wide variety of filters and customer problems that come with it? You know, this is one of those topics I think can help everybody. From your professional opinion, what is your advice when it comes to filtering your lubricants or fuel on a diesel vehicle?
Do not be cheap. Buy the factory stuff or upgrade, like fuel system, upgrade to a FASS if you can. If you're not driving a Duramax, an L5P that won't let you unless you delete. Just don't be cheap. Stop buying Wang Dung, eBay, Amazon, Chinese junk. Like, just buy the $40 fuel filter. It's way cheaper than a whole fuel system.
Where do you stand on oiled filters versus dry filters on the intake side? Because there's a great debate about. So many people say, oh, you don't want an oiled filter because it messes up your MAF sensor, which is downstream. I've got my own opinions, but I want to hear yours.
I mean, I'm kind of a dinosaur, and dry filters, aftermarket, didn't exist in my like heyday of getting into this. So oiled filters, I've never once had a problem with them gooping up my MAF sensor ever. I mean, but I'm also not like dousing them in a bucket of oil every time I'm putting them on.
You spray it lightly, or you don't dip it in the bucket of oil. That's how we have problems.
So, okay, I'm actually really thrilled that you're saying this, because I would say 70% of our customers want dry because they have heard. They all think they feel that they've seen it, but they haven't. They've heard that oil gets wicked off of their filter and ends up sticking on their MAF sensor, and it throws off air fuel ratio and all these other things. But as a result, if that happened at some point in the past where and I don't think it was K&N, but some other manufacturer, cheap Chinese stuff, whatever, were way over oiling, or the consumers were doing it themselves.
The consumers are doing that a lot.
They were getting their little K&N recharge bottle of oil. They clean their filter and they re-oil it. And they just spray.
And they would do
spray.
the peaks and valleys, and you only do a light coat on the peak and let it soak in over time. And you get people who are in a rush and they didn't want to wait for the oil to soak into the medium.
It wicks across it,
right?
yeah.
And so they over oil it so they can put it back in right away. And then they would have a problem. A lot of times you have to let it sit for 30 minutes and just let it wick into the medium or the media, and then you can put in a nice lightly oiled. And obviously, oil works great for trapping dirt particles. Like, it's fantastic. And the way a K&N, for example, comes out of the box ready to go, it's great. It's always when it comes to the maintenance portion, people are afraid of underdoing it, so they always way overdo it.
And so, do you agree? Do you agree, Jaycie, that's where it got the bad? Okay.
Yeah, it's consumer error. Now, that all being said, dry filters are pretty awesome in the fact that it is not an all-day endeavor to service your air filter.
True that.
Where, so I mean, it's, 6 one way, half a dozen the other, in my opinion. Like, if somebody insisted that they wanted a dry filter or an oil filter, I would not push them one way or the other.
Now, how many cat swaps are you doing?
I thought you were going to ask her how many cats she had. I'm like, what a rude question.
No, Caterpillar. So a big thing, and like, I think all big three now, guys will make billet adapters so you can go and change your oil filter to an oversized cat filter. I wanted to see how many of those you've done, and I have some comments.
I have done exactly 0. I think it's kind of a needless thing, and especially in the fuel filter area. Like, I know a lot of Duramax people insist that that's the way to go. I am a huge fan of aftermarket lift pumps. They are the bee's knees. Like, makes everything in life easier.
So you're a fast fan, not an air dog fan?
I lean towards fast because I have ran them in my own vehicles. I install both, and if someone has an opinion, that's another one of those things. If they say I want an air dog, good for you. That's what you're getting. If you want a fast, good for you. If they want my opinion, I would probably push them towards a fast, just purely from my track record of owning them and installing them and maintaining them.
Gotcha. I wanted to put a button on the cat thing because for people wondering why I brought it up. I can't tell you why I know this, but through research,
through science,
through sciencing,
I have determined.
Jaycie blinded me with science. I had to do that.
No, you didn't.
The cat doesn't filter as good as everyone thinks it does. Yet, because it's large and yellow and they like Caterpillar tractors and such, they assume that what's inside that canister is amazing, and it's not necessarily all that in a bag of chips. I'm just saying.
For that application.
For it may be a tractor, or it doesn't even mount the way that it should.
Right.
The way it mounts, I can't give away too much because it's a video coming soon.
Some companies mount it in an orientation that doesn't allow the filter to flow the way it's supposed to collect debris.
And not only collect it, it returns the debris
right
into
back
the
into
engine. And people don't know that. So, little something there for you. If you're thinking about putting a big old cat filter on your D-Max.
Stay tuned for the Banks video. All right,
stand down, my friend.
As I am scrolling through, one of the things that I think you do really well is diesel carnage photos, and you've got a number of gems in here. What went through the turbo, or at least the two turbos I found, that show the leading edge of the turbo blades all laid back? And one of your captions says, "What went through this turbo?" And I'm asking because we have you on the phone. What the hell went through that turbo?
So we don't know. I took off the air cleaner ducting for some other service, and I found that truck was not having a problem that required me to get in there. That was a happy accident.
Wow.
Well, wait a minute. So were all the components stock?
Yes, it was a bone stock truck.
Yeah, that is a picture.
What truck was it
that
in?
Looks like $100 bills to me. Many of them.
Yeah, so I think that was a E87, I believe.
Let me see this photo. Those are bent. Yeah, that's a bent compressor wheel.
Yeah, nothing like the blades all laid back. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a happy accident find. I was not in that truck for turbo stuff.
And it wasn't making noise? It wasn't whistling or scraping or making strange noises?
You know how laid back those are?
Tell me, how laid back are they?
That my mind was on my money and my money was on my mind. Yeah,
I got that. I feel like you're mixing songs there.
Yeah, no, that truck was in here for, I think, like body mounts and...
See, that's a hard thing to be a independent shop. And you have a report the customer, and he's like, hey, I just need some body pucks replaced because, my other ones are rotting out. You're like, yeah, no problem. You're like, hey, dude, full exhaust system and turbo. What? Like,
why were you even, Jaycie, why were you even looking at my turbo?
Right. I worked at many of a shop growing up. I worked at a Fast Lube at a Ford dealership. I worked at a Honda dealership. I worked at an independent BMW, Porsche, Mercedes shop. And it is shocking the amount of coincidental things happen when you work on a car that have nothing to do with the service. You either catch something or the customer comes back within 100 miles and wants to blame you for something else that went wrong that was totally unrelated and untouched. But it would happen all the time. And it's I don't know what it is about cars, but it's one of those things that gives mechanics a bad reputation that is totally undeserved. Because the good ones out there...
Is it always undeserved?
I mean, I think yes. I think most mechanics are straight shooters.
So you think they are good? They've got a good eye. They can spot this stuff.
No,
they've got a sixth sense?
What I'm saying is that the majority of mechanics out there in the world are honest people making honest living. And a customer will come back and be like, whoa, this light came on after you touched it. And you're like, yeah, I put air in your tires, dude. Like, it's not like we didn't do anything to make your check engine light come on. That stuff happens way more than you want to admit, but it has nothing to do with the service. And then it's hard to build trust with somebody if they think you're trying to do something to upsell. I think there are not honest mechanics, just like there are not honest everything else in every other profession. But I think most mechanics love problem solving, and they love to be in business and have a good reputation and a good rapport with their customers.
I happen to know what happened with that turbo.
Oh, yeah?
It sucked in burning embers after she drove away from...
one of those fires?
Burning down the competitor's shop.
It was a 7.3. It's an IDI. I'm going to take something much faster.
And if it was a 7.3 IDI, there's no regen on that either. So
yeah, true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, Jaycie, you've been awesome for hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, if you guys want to find out more or check out some of the awesome photos of Diesel Carnage or what she's working on, Instagram at FTM Diesel, or then if you are up by Point Arena, California, ftmdiesel.com, and go by the shop, say hi, and tell her that you heard about her on the Truck Show podcast. And she'll give you a free oil change, is what I'm hearing. No?
No. She doesn't do that. It says right on her website, by appointment only. So don't roll up on her.
Oh, okay. Call her and say you heard about her from the Truck Show podcast.
Exactly.
And she won't give you anything except really good service.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. This was a blast.
All right. Thank you, Jaycie. You're the best.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
This will be an interesting news segment as it's only got one topic, the Ram RHO. What's new in trucks?
We need to know.
What's new in trucks?
We need to know.
What's new in trucks?
We need to know.
Lifted, lowered, and everything in between. What's happening in the world of trucks?
That was good. I like that. Thank you. Appreciate
All right.
that.
The all-new 2025 Ram 1500 RHO has finally been uncovered and unveiled and revealed to all the masses, and it is exactly what you thought it was.
So it is the TRX with the new Hurricane.
It's a TRX with the new Hurricane. So it's one of those trucks where you look at it and it looks familiar. The front end looks fresh, but to be honest with you, I don't really think it looks any better than the current TRX. It even uses the current TRX's wheels, chassis, bodywork, except for the grille and stuff. Still has the same hood, and they have made sure that the Ram Air Scoop is functional with the Hurricane Straight 6, so that's super cool. So now they're positioning it as the most capable light-duty pickup truck, and it offers the best value with more horsepower per dollar than any other off-road truck, which is oddly specific. What they're saying is you get more out of this than you do with a V6 Raptor.
Interesting.
So it's $129.60 per horsepower.
$129.60
if you were if you're wondering. And so basically it's a TRX. So the suspension's been revalved, resprung. Obviously you don't have the big old V8 over the front end. It's supposed to be a little bit more nimble, lighter, a little bit more balanced front to rear. The all-new 3-liter...
I wonder if they... I know you probably don't have this because it's brand new info, but they probably pushed the engine forward. Or do you think they left it back? Because in the TRX,
it's
my
a
engine
straight
is...
6, so you...
you can't push it back. What am I thinking?
So the all-new 3-liter Hurricane, this is the high-output version. So SST is what they're calling it for straight 6 turbo. It is the most powerful 6-cylinder in the segment. It will come to the market in the RHO, which we think is Rebel high output, but they didn't really say.
Really high output.
Maybe. No, the really high output's coming. 540 horsepower and 521 pound-feet of torque. So no slouch.
Yeah.
No slouch at all. And they even threw out the performance numbers because they knew people were going to be asking about it. According to Ram, so take this at whatever value you want to take it at, the new Ram RHO will cover 0 to 60. And what do you think, lady?
Well, it's not going to be as fast as the V8, but it's going to be close. So it's going to be 0 to 60 in 4.3.
4.6 seconds.
4.6, okay.
0 to 100 in 11.7 seconds. Covering the quarter mile in a highly respectable 13.1 at 105.
Okay. And
it'll have the same top speed of 118 miles per hour, which are tire limited, not vehicle limited.
So that means that when they release the really high output, we're going to see this thing in like maybe the high 3s, right?
I think that there is a vehicle coming. Tim Kuniskis and team is known for not stopping, and it was mentioned during the press conference or during the media unveiling. They didn't come out and say TRX was coming. They just said, we know we have a hole in our lineup. We 100% are aware that this is not a TRX. This is not meant to be our TRX replacement. This truck is a more affordable off-road truck with the technology that we have. And stay tuned. And they were basically saying a real new TRX is coming without saying it in every which way possible. And like I said before, when he said it was shelved and not canceled, that tells me next year's news is probably going to be TRX. If they can figure out, cooling and all that kind of stuff, a lot of heat under the hood with those twin turbos, and but we know that engine's capable of more. We know that chassis is capable of more because clearly it was 702 horsepower in the Ram TRX. So.
Man, I don't know if you're going to have more heat with twin turbos versus that supercharger because superchargers get cooking.
Well, we'll see. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is a great Raptor competitor, but not a Raptor R competitor for now. Raptor R is top of the hill by itself until the next TRX comes out. But I guarantee you, there are people who are not sitting still at Stellantis, and they're not okay that they don't have an answer for the Raptor R right now. That's my take on it anyway. So
they'll be. I bet they'll easily crack the 700 horsepower mark. With
they'll be above. Yeah, for sure. Imagine your truck just tuned slightly differently and a little bit lighter.
Different response though with turbos as opposed to a supercharger.
Well, the other thing is this straight 6. I've driven it in the Grand Wagoneer. It doesn't have any holes. It's pretty because it has a smaller turbos feeding 3 of the cylinders. So they treat it as like a V6 with cylinder banks, even though it's a straight. They spool up really fast, so you don't have a lot of lag.
Okay.
So each turbo only feeds 3 cylinders.
Oh, interesting. So got it. We should check in with Weston Champlin. You're going to laugh here, but I forgot that I had his phone number. I met him at SEMA last year, and he gave me a cell phone. So we should call Weston Champlin. He just put twin turbos on a Demon engine, so it's still got the factory supercharger in his TRX. So twin charged, 2 turbos and a supercharger. They're not like fully those lame belly hung ones that some of the aftermarket guys are selling. This looks legit. He's going to break this truck. It's going to be ugly, but I think it's going to be, it'll be fun. So I'm going to get Weston on.
So no fuel economy numbers yet, but here's a couple more specs that you guys might be interested in. Because the chassis is lighter now, because the engine capability bumps up on maximum towing capacity, now 8,380 pounds, which is pretty darn good. And payload is 1,520 pounds. Water fording is 32 inches. So as part of this announcement, they didn't just stop at the RHO. It was interesting. They brought back the Power Wagon, which doesn't have anything new, but they think they wanted to reinforce their off-road lineup. And they also brought in the Ram Rebel X, which celebrates 10 years of the Rebel as a new package, which is kind of cool. And also the Ram 1500 Warlock, which, if you remember, was sort of like a sport truck package that they've had for a while on the classics. Now they're bringing the Warlock to the DT platform, and it's going to be available with the straight 6 turbo as well.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah. That'll be the overlanding rig.
I think the Rebel's more of the overlanding rig.
I think so.
Yeah, the Warlock is more of a sport truck vibe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They're calling their Rebel and the Warlock like their sport truck, and they're loosely, it's not sport truck like slammed, it's just like sporty truck versus, their working trucks and their luxury trucks.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see. But the Ram 1500, by the way, or the RHO will start at, do you know?
No, I don't know. I'm going to say it's going to start at 58.
69,995.
I was not even close. 69,995.
So that's quite a bit less than your V8.
Yes, it is. And you said same suspension, right?
Yep.
So it's got
Blackhawk
Blackhawks.
E2.
Okay.
Yep, just
All right.
retuned. And also the high flow air induction system. So going through the hood.
I can't believe I just said 58. That was so low.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You can't even get a mid-size, fully loaded Colorado for that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to hand you back the crack I'm on
All
apparently.
right, the high flow induction system, by the way, because you're like, no, it doesn't take air from there, and da-da-da-da, and all of your stupid things that you've said before.
It did very, very little.
That's not true.
Yes.
It's not true.
It is.
No,
Must
it's
be.
not true.
Yes.
Why are you lying to the people?
So here's the thing.
Oh, boy, here we go.
When you're in your TRX or your Ram Rebel or whatever you have, and it's just rained, and you're going down the street at 50 plus miles per hour, the raindrops on the hood don't move. There's a low pressure zone on the hood.
This isn't on the hood. This is the leading edge of the hood.
This is everything on up to the front
You
of
are
it.
not.
So
You are not the aero engineer at Ram or the guys who are working.
I
Anyway,
don't
ignore
know
what
this.
Lightning's saying because Lightning is talking out of Lightning's butt again. The air induction system, similar to the TRX, they made sure it was A, functional,
yeah.
and B, that it drains water and then filters out debris from reaching the engine, and that way the truck's only breathing cool, clean air. It has a high-capacity radial air filter that's housed in an open-top box that allows you to easily pluck it out and clean it in the field if you need to. It's a dry media, but they wanted to make sure that if you're in sandy, dusty environments, full throttle, and sucking all that air in, that it's getting separated out, which I think was really cool, even if Lightning's going to tell you that it doesn't work, and Ram will sue him.
Move on. I don't want to be sued.
Also, the RHO...
Lightning rescinds everything he said this episode. All of it.
Yeah.
Everything.
And then, of course, RHO gets a new exhaust system that's unique to it. So, anyway, Warlock, Rebel X,
Should we
RHO.
end every episode where it goes, this episode has been redacted of Lightning?
Yes. Please redact all mention of anything that flowed out of Lightning.
Just a bunch of beeps. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, there'll be more coming from the Ram side. And by the way, the one thing I wanted to close this segment out with is while they were going through, they said a new updated heavy duty is due later this year.
No kidding. With what type of engine?
Maybe not in those exact words.
Whose engine? Not Cummins?
No, it'll be Cummins.
I'm kidding.
Cummins.
I know.
Again, this is being redacted because Lightning is speaking out of his butt.
It is Cummins.
So anyway, it'll be pretty cool. So stay tuned. Heavy duty news later this year. There's going to be a lot more Ram news coming up. The Ram is just like, I don't know how they're going to figure out how to build 47 new variations of the truck. You've got the new DT platform. You've got the Warlock. You've got the RHO. You've got the Rebel X. And then you go to the heavy duties. You got the Power Wagon. You got the Rebel HD. Then you've got... That's not even talking about the Ram Rev and the range extended.
Oh my
God. Dude, Ram is like, we're building everything.
Everything.
And now you know why Ram has completely dominated this segment's news.
Yeah. Did we miss anything?
Yes.
I doubt it. Do you think Lightning should be retracted? Let us know.
Retracted or redacted?
Both. Truckshowpodcast@gmail.com.
Like the retracted.
The truck show. Whoa.
Yeah, you know what that whoa is? That's the voices of all of our listeners in unison when you just say stuff.
No, that's our attorneys going, oh, no.
Yeah, I don't have an attorney, so that's why
You should get
super
one.
nervous.
I'm going to make you need one.
Yep. All right, well, listen, if you haven't had enough yet, then you can follow us on the socials at LBC Lighting, at Sean P. Holman, at Truck Show Podcast. Please leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you guys. 657-205-6105 on the 5-star hotline. And, of course, email us anytime you want. truckshowpodcast@gmail.com, Holman@truckshowpodcast.com, or lightning@truckshowpodcast.com. And let us know what you think, what's on your mind. We'd love for you to be part of the show.
And we've got a bunch of events still coming up this year. You'll find those on the events tab on truckshowpodcast.com. Click on events, and there's probably one in your neck of the woods. or if there's one that we haven't put up on our events page, please send it to me, lightning@truckshowpodcast.com, and I personally will add it. And I believe that we are actually getting underway with some T-shirts. I know we've been teasing for a long time, but we're getting closer. And I think the plan now is to, we're going to take the orders, and it's going to be like basically first come, first serve. We're going to limit the number that we're going to accept. Like, we'll say like, hey,
first 100.
There's 100 that we're going to print, and that's it. And so either get in on it or don't.
Or wait for the next time that we do it if it's successful. We'll see.
That's a plan.
All right. Well, I think that's a great way to end the show. If you're looking for a new midsize pickup truck, you should head on down to your local Nissan dealer. Check out the Nissan Frontier, now available with the super rad retro hardbody or the top-of-the-line go off-road and have some fun Pro 4X, which is a favorite amongst the co-hosts of the Truck Show podcast. So you should go do that. Also, last year for Nissan Titan or Nissan Titan XT, still have the industry's best 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Oh, so sad.
Your local dealer or NissanUSA.com.
Yep. And if you've got a brand new Ford, well, let's say a 2020 to a 2024 Ford F250, F350, and you're looking for better air induction, look no further than BanksPower.com. Type in your year, make, and model to find the Ram air intake that will help your truck perform better.
And one last thank you for supporting the Truck Show podcast. We must thank the leaders in synthetics, and that's AMSOIL, who is the official oil and title sponsor of the Ultimate Call Out Challenge and the official oil of the National Association of Diesel Motorsports. Find out how AMSOIL synthetic lubricants can save you money and time by helping your vehicles run better and last longer than with conventional oils at AMSOIL.com. AMSOIL supports the Truck Show podcast, as does Banks and Nissan. Please support them back.
All right, you guys. Love you, mean it. Bye.
The Truck Show Podcast is a production of Truck Famous LLC. This podcast was created by Sean Holman and Jay Tillis with production elements by DJ Omar Khan. If you like what you've heard, please open your Apple Podcast or Spotify app and give us a 5-star rating. And if you're a fan, there's no better way to show your support than by patronizing our sponsors.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce.